Okay, this is my first NHL video in a while, and we're looking at the NHL playoff format because it's been a big topic of discussion. Now, the NHL has said and come out and said the playoff format is not going to change until after 2020 when it's up for collective bargaining agreement. And the NHLPA said that this has got to be on the table. We've got to discuss this, but we are happy for it to continue for the next 2 years. The NHLPA and the NHL agreeing that something needs to be discussed at a collective bargaining agreement. We might be avoiding a lockout. Could be interesting. Now, the current format, obviously, 2 conferences, 4 divisions, top 3 from each division qualify, plus wildcards to make it 8 from each conference. That not everyone agrees with that current playoff format, and I get that. I get why. But if you look at the geographical size of the US and Canada and the distances you've got to travel, it makes logical sense to have it on a travel basis, and financially, it's the one that actually makes the most money for the NHL. Of all the formats ever used, it's the one that makes the most money. And it also means that teams that are no-hopers don't actually get in. Because back in the 80s, we had a 21-team league before I was born, admittedly, but 16 of the 21 teams made it to the playoffs, so some pretty bad teams got in who shouldn't have. And we're not going to go back to the 80s. Let's just put that out there. Other options available. You go 1 versus 8 per conference, which means you can still have the same schedule you have now. So divisions are still there. You just get rid of the wildcards. You just get rid of wildcards. You just get the top 8 in your conference and divisions, which means you can keep your divisions and conferences as they are. The schedule doesn't have to change too much. It's pretty similar to what we've got, but it means 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5, that kind of thing. We've had that format in the past, and there is a reason why the NHL doesn't have it now. But we have had that format in the past. A lot of fans are going, why don't we go re-adopt that? The other option is 1 versus 16. 1, 16, 2, 15, 3, 14, that kind of option. That's the one where you lose balanced scheduling, you lose conferences, and you lose divisions. They're pretty much worthless. You'd have to change the schedule completely, which means you'll have less games played, and that means actually less revenue for the NHL and teams. Then there's the option that I have cooked up where you have the 8 division system and 4 conferences. I've just come up with a random idea. You have 8 divisions and 4 conferences. 2 divisions per conference. That could be interesting. I've got to work some maths out on that, but that is an option, surprising enough. You can have the 8 division system, but you have it in 4 conferences, not 2. That could make it very, very interesting if you think about it. But again, that would massively affect scheduling, and if that was in a smaller geographical area, it could work. Not on a geographical area the size of the US and Canada. This is where a lot of these other options that are being considered don't work as well, because the distance and the travel distances, the travel costs, and that affects profits. And the NHL at the moment is about the money. So you've got to bear that in mind. Or you have another more wacky option where the top 16 teams in the league, which again destroys conferences and balance scheduling because you have to rebalance it. The top 16 in the league qualify for the playoffs. You put them randomly in a hat and you draw them out. So you do them alphabetically. So 1 equals Anaheim, for example. In this case, Arizona on the verge of the playoffs, or Columbus, for example, 1 at the top of the alphabetical order gets a lower number, and Winnipeg and Washington would have 16 or 15. The issue with that is you pull out a team like Washington on the East Coast with a team, let's say, like San Jose on the West Coast in the first round. Yeah. And that then happens regularly. You don't know who you're going to get, which is very hard for fans to get tickets home and away, and of course travel costs again. Short notice, booking travel. Whereas in the regular season, you know what the fixturing is well in advance, so you can book the travel dates. Yeah, travel. Big issue is organising short-term travel when it comes to playoffs, when you have that kind of random system. Whatever system is put in place, whatever system is put in place, it's not going to agree with all fans. But it is interesting that the NHLPA and NHL are both saying we will look at this in the collective bargaining agreement. So as it stands, it's going to stay for another year. And not all fans are going to be happy with the current system, but not all fans were happy with previous systems. We had the 8 division system for a brief period. It didn't work. It was horrible. Fans wanted it. They got it. They hated it. So we've been here before where fan pressure has been listened to, and then don't actually like what they're given. Whatever system we have in place, it has to work for the league and it has to work for fans. You're not going to win all of them, but it's an interesting discussion point. The various options are open, and it's interesting that the NHLPA and the NHL are both agreeing that this needs to be discussed at the collective bargaining agreement at the end of next season. So, and of course, Seattle are joining as well, and Arizona are moving divisions. That's going to be interesting. But as it stands, no divisions are being changed. So the only system I think they're going to change from is the 1-8 system. Because if Arizona are agreeing to join the Central Division, now whether they stay in Phoenix or they move to Houston is irrelevant, the team is moving to a new division, which balances all the divisions with Seattle joining. If that is happening, and we are clear that the Central, Pacific, Atlantic, and Metro are all staying as divisions, then the only system you can have that will work is the current system or the 1-8 system. So you can keep the balanced scheduling as it currently is and keep the divisions as they currently are, which then limits the options. So there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Place your thoughts below on this, and I'll have some more videos for you soon.